something about it. The way it sounds, all too intimate and distorted. The way it looks makes your guts twist into knots and your heart hammer in your bones. It's a fear that only those old school games can really make. It's a shame. They don't make them anymore like that. Right? Hello, and welcome back to the Stygian Study. I am your host, and I am definitely not hiding from the United Nations. And today, we're going to be talking about the recent indie horror game that I was super excited about, but I forgot when its release date was, so I didn't play it until like 3 days ago, but hey, here we are now. The game, as you could tell from the title of the video, is Labyrinth of the Demon King, and whether or not you should give your precious time to it. Labyrinth of the Demon King is a survival horror dark fantasy game set during the Shogunate era of Japan. And you are a foot soldier who is sworn to avenge your lord who valiantly gave his life to defend you from an ambush that the Demon King caused. So you have come to the castle of the Demon King in order to slay him and end his horrific reign forever. As you can tell by the footage in the background, this game is styled after a classic PS1 survival horror game titles, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and draws heavily from them in order to make this experience stand out. But it's all not just spooky and kinda gross visuals that help drive this experience. There's a surprising amount of depth that is involved in several aspects of the game, so for this purpose of the review, we're going to be breaking this video down into several sections. Number 1, the combat and core systems that the player character has to function with. 2, the level and enemies design. 3, the overall spookiness. And 4, my overall thoughts with the game. So, without further delay, let's get into it! Also, this should go without saying, spoilers for the entire game, so if you want to go in blind, don't watch this. That's okay. You can watch it later if you want. Now, combat, oddly enough, is a huge part of this game, and I'll be honest, when I first came into this game, I thought it would largely be playing around stealth-type mechanics that most horror games try to use. But no. From the jump during this game's tutorial with possibly the world's creepiest and cutest merchant ever, this game makes it abundantly clear that the only way to solve your problems is by going through them. There's no sneaking for cover, there's no tiptoeing around big monsters. No, this game demands that you throw hands at every single opportunity. Minus one enemy, but we'll discuss that fat bastard later. And on the surface, it's a fairly simple system. Light attacks, heavy attacks, kicks to break enemy guard, the limited dodging system to avoid enemy attacks, and a parry that is core for breaking the attacks of enemies and giving you room to breathe. Despite my misgivings initially about the system and the overall jankiness of the game, this combat works quite well, especially against the little imp enemies who you will commonly most find across the game. And it really meshes the best with what the system has to offer here, as they mix up between blocking, kicking, and a variety of normal attacks to help you get used to the system. My only annoyance is that damn stamina bar, which drains faster than my patience in working customer service. I mean, seriously, every single action drains your stamina steeply, which I guess makes sense. You are a normal dude, after all. And this is a horror game, so you kind of have to be disadvantaged, but with certain enemies, this stamina bar feels like an arbitrary weakness when you're getting absolutely mauled to death and you can't move. As for the game's other systems, there's a variety of weapons and equipment you can pick up. Two-handed weapons like a kanabo, bows, and even guns. Each weapon possesses unique effects like slashing and piercing or blunt damage, which all have varying effectiveness on the host of enemies that the game presents to you. You can also use certain weapons to inflict status effects like bleed or poison, but I never ended up using them since raw damage is usually so strong in this game. Additionally, there's a variety of consumable items that you'll find across the game as well, such as your normal healing, stamina refresh items, which have quick action buttons mapped by default on console, which is super useful in my playthrough. There are also magic items called talismans, which are one-time use spells that can snipe enemies, banish spirit-type enemies, heal you, or knock enemies back, which you use way more than you would expect them to, and can be sold at a specific merchant later in the game. Speaking of merchants, it's time to talk about my favorite portion of the game, and it has to be the tea house, without a doubt. The vibes here are immaculate. As you sip down on your matcha tea that you make at a little mini game and wander around talking to the NPCs of the area. We have the cat merchant from the tutorial who won't eat you, she swears, who sells various items and weapons and upgrade materials. We also have her husband, the Kappa blacksmith, who can upgrade your weapons and armor in exchange for a specific currency. Though, I never upgraded my armor, so I don't know if it's useful or not. I've heard people say it's not. I never needed it. Damage isn't that bad in this game. And we have a priest who sells the talismans that I mentioned earlier. We also have a servant girl who can clean weapons and will provide some extra lore insights, but she doesn't do much else besides that. It's a cute area that you can teleport to at any time once you unlock the talisman for it, and serves as a nice rest between frantically slaughtering anything with a pulse that you find outside. One final system that the game has for players to use is the shrine system, which serves as save points, very ominous save points I might add, and an attribute upgrade area when you have ritual incense to offer. I'm not gonna lie, it's worth it to put almost everything into stamina, because as I mentioned, the more stamina you have, the safer you're gonna be. And it allows you to kill things faster because you can use your actual weapon combos. And the quicker you kill enemies, the more health you're going to be saving. And at that point, you just don't need that much extra health. It's a core system of the game, and, do what you will, but I would say upgrade stamina. And that's about it for the core systems that make up the gameplay. Not much else there. It's hack and slash your way through everything that moves and breathes. But what will you be hacking and slashing, and what will you be doing? Well, let's move on and explore that next. This game is broken up into 3 major sections called towers, where at the top of each one there's a boss called the Warden who you have to defeat in order to progress through the game. Each tower is a clusterfuck maze of secrets and puzzles, leading to an addictive loop of creeping around each area, solving puzzles, fighting enemies, and yanking on every single godforsaken door until one of them decides to actually open for you, and maybe there isn't anything too terrifying on the other side and you won't get jumped by 15 different enemies. The atmosphere, say less, can be very oppressive at times, especially in the game's opening areas where you're only armed with a rusty or broken katana and a torchlight to keep you safe, as you are assailed from all sorts of disfigured wretches from the forsaken halls of this tower. I'm not really a puzzle guy, but the puzzles of this game were super interesting to interact with, and force you to analyze a lot of elements of the world around you to solve them. There was one particular puzzle that you're seeing on the screen now that had me losing my mind.
Why isn't this working? Is there something missing?
And the solution was just reading better. Oops. It's only a shame that later in the game, the puzzles become a bit less challenging and the towers become a little shorter in length and lack the depth of the first one, but we'll talk about that later. Regardless, the maps themselves are puzzles, and you have to uncover hidden items, combine key items that you found, and refer to the very rudimentary map in order to navigate even the game's simplest of areas. Even when it starts to lack in depth, it's still a very engaging time. And honestly, some of the game's strongest portions are just wandering around through the hallways where there's no enemies, trying to figure out how to open a door, or pick up a certain item, or understand where to just go in the middle of the map. It's very fun to unlock the secrets and find out how these areas function, and even when they become simpler, it's incredibly fun. However, the game heel turns a bit from its puzzle designs and starts to lean more into its combat systems in the later stages of the game, which is where some of my annoyances start to come in. You remember what I said about stamina? Yeah, there's a damn good reason to upgrade it first. Enemies in this game are janky and can stun lock you instantly if you're not careful. And I understand that jank is part of the design since it's an homage to retro titles, but good lord, I don't know how you managed to get it this janky on purpose. If you so much as get nicked by an enemy, you're going to be stun locked, making oddly sensual moans the entire time as you get stabbed to death. Luckily, there are very few gank fights because I think the devs were aware and knew that this issue could happen if enemies fought you in groups. So enemies, if they're in groups of 2 or more, will opt in to fight each other first, which leads to some frankly hilarious moments of betting on enemies to kill each other before they turn and try to kill you. Although, it does have some lore implications behind it too, but that's for a different video. One big note on their behavior is that the AI in this game is really good. Enemies will run away from you if they take too much damage too quickly, only to bait you around a corner and be waiting to hit you with a cheap ambush attack, which did manage to get me killed twice. Or there are these crawler enemies that run away only to pelt me with their ranged attacks that inflict poison, which again killed me. And it made these fights against enemies actually quite engaging and a very unique experience. All the enemies, by the way, are super creepy and super gross looking, and all come with their own little quirks and weaknesses that you can discover by reading clues in the game, such as the skeletons who can only be killed with blunt damage, or these dog-type enemies that can also only be killed with blunt damage, but you have to also then hit them while they're dying, or they'll come back up to try and kill you again. Or this boss who's immune to blunt damage and can only be damaged with slashing or piercing damage, and is also immune to poison. Enemies that stand on two legs is usually an easy affair, but anything, and I mean anything, that's short or low to the ground is just a pain. Their hitboxes are so incredibly tiny that you end up missing attacks a lot, and the worst examples have to be these tiny worm enemies who will pop out of crates that you destroy that will attack you quickly and apply a stacking poison debuff on you. Thankfully, there aren't too many enemies like this, but the ones that are like this make me want to drop kick my TV off of its hinges. Now, I'm sure there is at least one of you wondering if there's a stalker type enemy in this game. Think of Pyramid Head or Nemesis. And I'm happy to report that there is. This is Ned, the fat bastard I mentioned earlier. However, he's one of the worst stalker enemies I have ever dealt with. Not in the sense of him being a troubling enemy that causes havoc and pressure whenever he emerges from the filth into the level that you're in, like the beast from Amnesia Bunker. It's the worst because he does nothing. He saunters around and beats the absolute tar out of anything he touches, and applies a stacking rot debuff that is supposed to one-shot you at max stacks, but I never ran into the issue because the amount of rot curing items the game gives you is insane, and the rot stacks way too slow. So I end up just running past him and parrying a little punch he might throw at me, but by the time he tries to throw another, I'm long gone. He just kind of sucks, and despite the game making him seem like a big deal after you steal a Buddha statue from a shrine to unlock something, it's only a few hours later the game gives you another Buddha statue that you can use to restore the shrine and remove his presence entirely from the game. You can't kill him, and if you waste time damaging him, it'll only just stun him for a few seconds, and he kills anything in the level that gets close to him, so he's more of a benefit than a bad thing. He's not my favorite, despite the fact that he looks and sounds really, really cool. Boss fights in this game don't fare much better. Despite them being intimidating and putrid whenever they enter the arena, they're fairly predictable and easy to dispose of once you get a weapon with decent stats, which is super easy after the first tower. And they are painfully easy to brute force down, and I don't think I died more than once against any of them throughout the entire game. Which is a shame because they look amazing and they're super, super unique. I mean, come on. Look at this thing. It's a giant spider with a head and a little mouth that just shoots out at you. It's super amazing, but I'm just running around in circles and it can't hit me. Honestly, the skeletons in this area killed me more than any of the bosses in the game, including the final one who's a total pushover because he damages himself. Which, again, kind of disappointing because he looks awesome. So, now I'm going to use this section to gush about everything I love in this game, which is the atmosphere and vibes, because good god, this game has amazing sound designs and visuals. Hats off to the devs involved in this portion of the game, because nearly all the sights and sounds had my skin crawling, or at least made me deeply uneasy. And that's thanks to the downscaled graphics of the game, which leans into this uncanny valley effect that's produced by them. Further combated with the cutscenes having uncomfortable sounds that are mixed up with chunky, gooey, fleshy, nasty grossness. It's a damn good time. Likewise, in the overworld, enemies make such unnerving sounds that despite their low threat later in the game, you still quickly are checking behind your back to make sure that no one's there. And while you don't need the torch to function in this game, I highly recommend it. It adds a lot of immersion and atmosphere to some of the areas. It makes them feel a lot more tense and a lot more oppressive. The music is also a standout and really enhances each area, as these little growling or mushing sound effects that mess with the player's head, making them think that there are enemies around them when in reality there's nothing. Plus, it makes these outside sections where you're standing in the rain such a mesmerizing experience that is, again, enhanced by the hyper-stylized graphics here. I mean, if you want to see tense, take a gander at this here. I mean, honestly, I can't emphasize it enough because, I mean, I don't know how many horror games that will have me pausing just to sit outside and relax in the rain, just because it's that atmospheric. Likewise, the sound and visual portions of the game are a big reason why I even picked this game up in the first place, and damn, it delivered every single time with every cutscene, every enemy, and even opening doors and walking downstairs, which have been the transition screens for every portion of this video so far. It's just, it's a work of art, and it's worth experiencing just for that. However, the atmosphere can kind of go to waste sometimes when you step into an area and you get jumped by about 15 enemies from the word go that constantly respond from section to section. It can take away from the tension that these parts of the game really work to build up. And it gets even worse when you get a weapon that can start just chopping it down like nothing. However, while you may not be chomping your nails down worrying about every single moment of the game, the aesthetics of this game are amazing. And if you're a big horror fan like I am, this is absolutely worth the price of admission alone. Think of it more like going to a horror theme park when you're not really jump scareable, but you just want to bask inside all that spooky aura. Just to kind of add on, the aesthetics of this game are what carry it, in my opinion. Drawing heavily from Japanese Buddhist mythology, these visuals are so distinct and visceral that I don't think there are any other games that can quite capture the feel of it. And like I said, it makes it worth playing all on its own, and I highly recommend it just for that. So, overall, Labyrinth of the Demon King is a grotesque, claustrophobic, and intense experience that is sure to suit the fancy of many horror fanatics. The jank of the graphics and the movement, combined with the stellar soundscape, fun puzzles, unique world, and storytelling, combined with extremely immersive level design, make this game worth its low price tag and relatively short length, which is a negative for some people, but for me, it was very cozy and fun to play through. However, the game does have some general setbacks when it comes to its boss design and the latter half of the game, which starts to break down the pacing to a place that I don't like, and takes away from the atmosphere that was built up. Despite these negatives, I still think Labyrinth of the Demon King is super worth your time and money if you enjoy indie horror games like myself. I may circle back into this game to start dissecting the lore around it more because of how fascinating it is to see Buddhist mythology used in a game like this and how intoxicating the visuals are. So if you're interested in me making more videos on this game, let me know down in the comments, and I may just get around to making it. Either way, I bid you good morning, good day, or good night, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed your time at the Stygian Study. Toodles! I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, God.